7 of Concussion Chats. My name is Tay. Concussion Chats is a podcast hosted by McGill Students for the Concussion Legacy Foundation with the help of Nick, Concussion Talk podcast. We're dedicated to providing strength and hope to those suffering from concussions through sharing experiences. Today I have a recording of our speaker, Krystal. Krystal goes by she, her. Krystal is a concussion warrior, a storyteller, an improv nerd, a dog mom, and a dietitian. Having spent most of her independent adult life dealing with multiple concussions, Krystal tells her story through her blog, This Hat is a Helmet, and helps others with concussion and brain injury find healing with food and nutrition through her nutrition platform. And you can find her Instagram, which is brain.mind.nutrition.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. And hi, everybody. Thank you for having me here today. I am in Ottawa, Ontario. So if you're in Montreal, we're not very far apart. And my partner is from Montreal, so we are there often, or we would be in different circumstances. Yeah, and I always feel the need to tell people that I'm from Winnipeg. You know, you could take the girl out of Winnipeg, but you can't take the Winnipeg out of the girl. Kyle's clapping. I feel like we got another Winnipegger there. And Kyle, is that a fig tree? It looks great. Yeah, good job. Anywho, yeah, so my story. Yes, I am a concussion warrior, and I have had about 6 concussions, and sometimes I say it just depends on how you count them. I moved here to Ottawa for my internship to become a dietitian, and that was when I first moved out of my parents' place and first was starting my independent life, and was just first starting to adult, as one would say. And my internship was a year long, and at the end of that I got a job at the Children's Hospital, which I loved. But at the same time, it was coming close to about 1 year that I had officially been working as an adult with an income and so on and so forth. And something did feel missing. Something did feel off. And sometimes I feel like it was serendipity. Sometimes I feel like it was the silver lining that, something was off, and I literally got smacked upside the head, in a sense, because that is when I had my first concussion. And none of my concussions have been anything very heroic. They've all been very silly things of standing up into things or whatnot. I don't usually like to talk about how my injuries happened. But if people ask, I might conjure a story of there was a bus and a kid and I jumped in front, just to make it sound a bit more exciting than laundry, which was one of them. But living my adult life for the first time, and within, kind of that first year, I had my first concussion. And I worked at a hospital. And I was surrounded by nurses and doctors, and still felt weird to ask. And so I wasn't feeling well. I was noticing I was reading the same thing over and over again in my office, this one line just over and over again. And I had headaches and a bit of blurred vision. And so I went to talk with one of my colleagues, and they said, yeah, why don't you go to Emerge? And, and I did. And that's when they were like, okay, you have a concussion. And I was like, all right, not thinking much of it at the time. And I was like, anything I should do or not do? And they're like, well, don't do much, sleep, dark place, whatever. And I was like, okay, this doesn't sound like a big deal. And off I went. And, a few days later, I did quote unquote recover. And I got back into my life. And, but as I know now, hindsight being 2020, I was not better. My balance was still off, and I was trying to get back to a life that was just too much to begin with anyways. Working too much, doing too much, not doing my self-care, not doing any of those things. And so in that like first week of like feeling better, I hit my head again. And that is what set me off for like a very, very long recovery. So that first concussion took a year, and it was as horrible as it was. At the same time, I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about the people around me, and I learned a lot about how much I do need to self-care. I don't mind saying that prior to that first concussion, part of what I was feeling was off. It was actually like mental health problems that I had for a very long time, but never recognized and never got diagnosed until that concussion. And so after that one, I realized, okay, there's more self-care that I need to do for myself. I worked in healthcare. You would think that we would know. But at the same time, working in healthcare at times was like, I felt like I was, giving myself for everyone else. And so years went on, and I had more concussions. And the last kind of one that's now been long lasting was almost 6 years ago. I'm coming up on another anniversary, which I think I'll get a cake for. I did before once. I went to like Dairy Queen, and I was like, can you like draw for me like a brain? Like, can you make me a brain ice cream cake? And they did. And it wasn't like a cartoon brain. Like they took, anyways, it was very beautiful. And there's a picture of it on my Instagram. But in any event, yeah. So I'm coming up on another anniversary, but I can say this. Here and now, I am the most functional and doing the best I have ever done. And in some ways, I think that I have taken care of more things for myself than I would have had I not had the concussion. I feel like the lessons that concussions have taught me took a very long time to sink in. Even after that first one, recognizing like, wow, I'm doing too much. I'm overworking. I'm not, doing the self-care piece. I still very easily fell back into that pattern. And, before this kind of last one, it was the same thing. I was working 3 jobs. I was, taking care of somebody else's puppy. I was at the time training for my sport and all of these things, and just cramming it in, just cramming as much into life as I could without taking the time. My dog, everybody. Her name is Daphne. She's 10.5 months old. And I figured she would make an appearance. She usually does. Hey, Daphne? Yes. I'm saving the PARK for later today. We didn't go this morning, so she's giving me a look. We're going later. Okay. Yeah, so it took a long time for me to realize those lessons, and now I feel like I'm realizing them. Now I feel like I'm functioning better than I ever have before, and I feel like I've just got a better idea as what it is I want my days to look like and what it is I want my day-to-day life to look like. So I can say this, that, there was a very, there were definitely times in my recovery where it felt like I was never going to get better. It 100% not just felt like it, I believed it. Because what else can you, because the thing that helps you rationally think is not working well in a concussion, right? So with the brain being low energy and the brain trying to heal and repair, it's very easy to believe that it's never going to get better. And it's always interesting to me to like look back at like journals I've written and articles and like my blog. And there are things I read sometimes that I'm like, wow, I I don't actually remember what it was like for it to feel that bad. Looking back, I'm like, wow, I was really sad. I was really depressed. And I actually can't remember that right now. And alternatively, there were times during my recovery where I felt horrible, and I would read things where I had a great day and I felt great. And I was like, wow, I can't believe I felt that great. So it's there have been a lot of ups and downs, but it is so key to have, at least in my opinion, a mindset that it can get better, and that whatever is happening right now, it is not forever. It is not what the rest of your life will look like. It is not determining. This moment maybe doesn't determine what every single moment will look like in the future. And so, yeah, it's been a rough ride. But this past, wow, how long has it been now? Through this last concussion, I was working at the time that it happened, and silly me, not had at that time, still not having learned the lesson. I tried to push through, and I tried to keep working, and I tried so hard. I was trying too hard, and as a result, I burnt out. And so there was a time when I was not working. I didn't have a permanent job, so there was no job I was going back to. So there was a time when, I needed to work again. And I entered that with so much trepidation, worrying about what I could do, and worrying about working with other people again who may or may not understand that, yeah, like I still have fatigue, and I still have like screen time still has to be paced, and my day still has to be paced. And so after much searching for a job, I decided that, you know what, I think I will accommodate myself better than anybody else. And that's when I started my own private practice. And so now it's been, oh my gosh, has it been a couple of years already that I fully stepped into this, not knowing how to run a business, not knowing anything about like how to put up a website, or like at the time I had no idea what Instagram was or how to use it. There was, it was so much to learn. But it's the other people in my life who remind me. They're like, remember a year ago, you still couldn't do this. And, remember a year ago, you were still struggling with this, and look at where you are now. So it's amazing to me when people point that out and ask, so where do you think you'll be in another year? And I feel like there was a time when I couldn't even look that far ahead, when I was like, I don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow, never mind a year from now. Just getting through the day was tough. But now being in a position where it's like those doors are opening, and I can start to see that, oh, wow, where can I be in a year from now, is truly amazing. So yeah, it can be slow. It can definitely be painful. And I think there's still things I'm working out, but learning to live with it and to form kind of a new life from it, not only has it been the most challenging thing to do, it has also been the most rewarding. So I will leave my spiel there, and I would love to hear other people's voices, or take any questions or experiences. Yeah.
Today I have Emily, who's also part of McGill Students for the Concussion Legacy Foundation, Nick from Concussion Talk podcast, along with his co-host Aaron, who's also the coordinator for the Newfoundland Labrador Brain Injury Association, joining me. What did you guys think about her share? I really liked that she wasn't like diet focused. Like at the end, someone asked about like her like most like recommended diet for like concussion recovery, and she was just really big on like getting the vitamins and minerals that you need and like all like the stuff that you need, but like within what you can manage. Like don't use all your energy trying to follow some crazy diet, which I really liked, because I've been getting really tired of talking about food on the podcast and having speakers talk about food and really restrictive diets. So I really like her approach.
Emily's eating, as you're talking about diet, Emily's chewing on something. I don't know what she's eating. But yeah, actually, tomorrow, I guess when this comes out on Monday, tomorrow I'll be putting out a podcast with Stephen Gurr, who's the nutritionist dietitian at Premier Athletic Sports Medicine, Premier Athletic Therapy and Sports Medicine in St. John's. And so it's kind of appropriate that she talks about nutrition. And I didn't get to hear that because I wasn't at the group chat. But yeah, I mean, obviously she definitely had experience with concussion. I would like to know what happened to her other. She said like I had a few more concussions. I don't know what that was. They're just like.
She told us that she had a few like concussions that were just like kind of like hitting her head like doing laundry, or like just like accidents, just kind of like silly ones. But she also played sports, so maybe some of those other ones were sport related.
Yeah, I thought it was funny how she said like a couple times she'd just make up stories instead of like saying like, oh, I hit my head doing laundry. Yeah. I was just like, oh my gosh, like that's too funny too, because it's like, oh, the most basic thing you can hurt yourself in, but it's like, oh, I want to make this sound better.
which is definitely something that a lot of people in the group, like they're like, if someone asks like how you got your concussion, like or like a lot of people in the group have like when like they talked about how they got their concussion, they're usually really embarrassed about how they got it, because like it will be something like I was feeding my dog and like I hit my head off the cabinet when I was standing up, or like I hit my head off the roof of a car, or like there's just a bunch of like concussions that people have gotten just from like everyday things, and everyone's always really embarrassed to like say it, because everyone else kind of like expects some like crazy dramatic story. So I think her saying that just like really, I don't know, it just kind of like shows like how like everyone does kind of feel awkward and weird and embarrassed if there's.
But at the same time, they got people that you gotta like. It's still a concussion. I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't really matter how it happened, just that it did happen, and
yeah.
I mean, some people have better stories than others. Better is like all relative. Better is still doesn't matter really. It happened,
yeah, exactly.
You know.
I
shot in a car, then it still happened.
Yeah, and I think that it might have been Alan that said like a concussion is a concussion. Like how you got it is just a story. I think that was Alan that said that. Yeah. And like that's so true, and like it is just the story. Like your concussion, like you getting a concussion, like you still got a concussion, like that's all that actually matters.
Yeah, I think it has to do with the stigma of it too, like the idea that in order for something to have gone wrong with you, or in order for something to be taken seriously, it has to be a big dramatic event. And it's like, oh, I gotta hype this up then so people take me seriously and they understand like it is an injury. But it's like, no matter what you did, like it is valid, it is like it has happened. So I think like a bit of it is tied to that. It sounds
Love
so
it.
funny in a way to be like, I gotta play this up, but I know it's coming from a place of like
Yeah.
Yeah.
crappy stigma.
Yeah, I think it almost like can like you minimize yourself a little bit because it's so embarrassing. I feel myself pretty embarrassed every time I say I ran into a wall and knocked myself out. But as time goes on, like I can laugh about it because like shit happens, right? Life happens. And you know, sometimes stuff seems so stupid and silly, but it just like it still happened. It still matters. Everything's like valid about it. Yeah, it's so silly, but it's almost just like expecting more of yourself, but accidents happen.
Yeah. And I mean,
I started this career, so I have nothing important to say to it.
nope.
I started listening to I started listening to the audiobook last night, the Tao of Pooh, Winnie the Pooh Taoism, and it's just basically about this, just like that life happens and just you can't do this is just how it is and just enjoy life and just the way it is and what comes and yeah, the expectations and so but yeah, but I also fell asleep halfway through it. So, you know, so who knows? How maybe it's I didn't know much about Taoism, but anyway, yeah, that was that.
Yeah. No, it's just people injure themselves in so many embarrassing ways, but like your brain is so important. Like no matter what you do to it, no matter how you hit it, like you shouldn't be embarrassed with that. Like anything can happen, but it is your brain. It controls you. Like you gotta like keep that in mind kind of thing. It like this part though reminded me of a story. A friend of mine, their little brother broke their arm playing Fishes and Whales, like that game in gym class. And so you like run from one side of the gym to the other, and then sharks are in the middle and they have to try to tag you. And like, so you're either a fish or a whale. So he was running across and he was running super fast trying to get away from the shark, the other person to tag him. And he just ran into the wall and broke his arm. But instead of like telling like, yeah, I ran into the wall, he was like, people would be like, how'd you injure your arm? So he'd just say shark bite.
That's funny. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's kind of a funny way of reframing it. Like, I guess if you did injure yourself in a funny way, it might be a nicer way to try to like think of the light of the situation, I guess, and give that kind of lie versus like a big dramatic other
than being like, I just wasn't paying attention. I ran into a wall. So like you can tell something more exciting, which
I mean, I was running from a chainsaw.
There you go.
Coming at me with a chainsaw, I ran.
There's more exciting than this kid playing like Fishes and Whales in gym class into a wall and broke his arm.
But I mean, you think about the person that just like, hit their head like getting into their car, getting out of their car, and like how many times? I mean, I don't know about you guys.
I've done
hit my head all the time. Yeah, and most like we all have, right? And so it's just like, it's unfortunate that a concussion happened, right? But like, we've all done silly shit, like bending over and just like forgetting the counters right there. Like,
oh my God, yeah.
I'm like, or opening a cabinet. I mean, I've done like some
I always hit my head off the corner of my cabinets in my new kitchen. It's terrible. It's, yeah.
It's anxiety producing.
I was talking to someone that was like an athlete or something, but shared a concussion came from like just talking with their boyfriend over a coffee at some store and sitting next to a wall and laughed, threw her head back and hit it on the wall. And,
that's so unfortunate.
I mean, one of mine was like, I was hanging out with a friend and like I poked him and he was super ticklish and like he like just like headbutted me and I got a concussion. Like, how stupid that? But it happened.
Guys, that's so funny you say that. The other day, I had this total memory of what I think I got a concussion. I was in 4th or 5th grade. Y'all know the Wii, right? Like Nintendo Wii. Y'all remember like that baseball game?
Yeah.
Like Nintendo Wii baseball. I'm standing there, we're playing baseball, and wham! My friend like smacked the hell out of my set. I mean, I went down on the ground. And at that point, you know, we had no idea what concussions were. And I was like 4th or 5th grade, and I still can feel the pain, and I'm like, yeah, that was probably a concussion. Like,
that reminds me of like when I would have been a little bit younger. Like I was probably like grade 2 or 3. I was living in Manitoba still. And we were playing, I had gotten like a pair of golf clubs, and like we were playing out in my backyard, and my friend walked behind me while I was swinging the club, and I knocked her in the head. And yeah, definitely gave her a concussion. Yeah.
This makes me think that a concussion just might be part of the human experience.
Honestly.
I think it's like a requirement.
We probably all got like at least one when we were kids, you know, if we did any sort of outside activity.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm super out of it today. My own concussion stuff is difficult. I'm focused on my talking, but Taya, guys, was it her that said yesterday that this moment doesn't define future moments? Was that this share?
It was conversation yesterday. I don't know if it was her that said it or it was someone else that said it in the group, but it was discussed yesterday. Yeah.
Is that what was said? To that extent.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, like that's pretty much. It was just basically like, yeah, like this moment doesn't define the future stuff. I'd written a bunch of stuff down. Yeah, this moment does not like determine all other moments. Like, it wasn't her that said it. It was another member of the support group. And they were just talking about like riding that wave until like it's done. Like you just kind of like it'll lift. Like just kind of go with it. Something she said though, however, was like she started to like notice like when she's feeling good, and rather than like pushing on still, like she's slowing down, because like, you know, like when you're like, oh, like I'm feeling good, like I can do everything, and then all of a sudden like you're on your ass, like you're done, like you're out. Like she was talking about when she first started working, she was back to like basically full-time 1 week, like she'd be doing everything, and then like the next week she'd be like done, like totally out of commission. So just like really working on recognizing like, hey, like right now like I'm feeling good, but I need to like take the break or else I won't be, like I need to slow down, you know?
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. It's like that, it makes me think of that saying, which I don't know if it's a real saying, but somebody said to me once, is try to do less than your best. Did you say that, Taya? Did someone else?
That's
trying to, which I know, it's like counter.
Terrible. I would never, ever. That is disgusting.
No, that's my life motto. Never give your best.
Yeah,
only average.
No, because
no,
listen,
you have to do your best. Never do your best. What the hell?
Nah.
Garbage. You never do.
This is the type A perfectionist coming out.
I was about to say your perfectionism is hurting me right now. No, but that was the point. Somebody said it to me when I was being a perfectionist, and maybe it was, I don't know who it was, but she was like, just try and do just less than your best. And it's just like, it was like, Taya, you even said it yesterday, the like, at least eat something, you know? It's that whole like, something is better than nothing, just do it good enough. Like, do just less.
Yeah.
Pardon, Nick?
Lower your expectations.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that, you know? Like, when I was growing up, like, before hockey games, like, when I used to play hockey, like, my stepdad, before every game, like, he'd, like, scream at me, like, get me hyped up, and be like, how far? And I'd be screaming, like, all the way, like, you know, like, I would, like, everything had to be, you know, 100%. Like, if you weren't putting in 110%, not good enough. Yeah, you know? But I've definitely, like, my mindset has, like, changed a little bit. But once you added the just less than your best, that was a little bit better. But never do your best. Like, what the hell? What kind of advice is that? But yeah, no, just do less. Yeah, like just less. Like, Okay, instead of 110%, I'll do like 109.
90.
No, not 90. No. It still
No.
needs to be like close to 100.
I think the whole point is that as perfectionists, and not even just perfectionists, as people coming back from a traumatic brain injury, we are human. We're never going to account for all the variables that are taking capacity out of us. So our best is always, not always, but a lot of times it's going to be not realistic, right?
I think what's more important in this is just more like the, like 100% do your best, but take breaks. Like if you're going to work for 25 minutes, do your best in that 25 minutes and then take your break.
But see, the way I view it is that if you're going to do your best, all your best into something, what's left over for you?
Well, I'm not saying in the thing that you're doing. I mean, do your best taking care of yourself. Do your best when you, like, just do your best. Like,
but even if you don't, that's fine.
But it's your best, like what you can do right now. Like not
best of your ability. Yeah.
Like whatever your best is in that moment, do it.
Yeah.
And I think even then sometimes though, like you don't reach that. Like if you're like, this is the best I could absolutely do, like, and you have that idea in your mind already, if you don't reach that, you're already like failing yourself in a way.
Yeah. I think, and Taya, I think you're hitting it that spot on. It's like, just do the best that you can do in a moment. I think for myself, one of my patterns is to always see my best as when I have nothing going on in my life. And that's always my best.
I think
and so it's a way of me being like, oh, if I just do just less than my best, you know, it's good enough. The world's probably not going to stop spinning. I probably won't fail out of college. I probably won't get fired. But what it does is it's like a trick in moments where I'm struggling, to where I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do just less than my best so I can pace myself, because in my head, I don't, like, in the heat of the moment, I'm not always thinking about my best in this moment. I'm thinking my best is when nothing else is going on. But when I'm not in the heat of the moment, it's a lot easier to just be like, oh, I'll just do the best that I can do at that time. So it's just like a mental trick that I've found helpful at times.
And like that kind of goes with like something that one of the classes, like, I mean, we took this class together on like the psychotherapy course this past semester. Like the prof was talking about like, it was just kind of like you compare like your worst self to your best self, and like you can't do that because like your depressed self is not the same as your non-depressed self. Like you can't compare it. And that's just like how people with concussions compare themselves to what they were pre like injury. And like you can't do that because you're not in that same spot. And I definitely compare myself to whatever like my absolute best was, whenever like the best was. And like need to work on the more like the in the moment thing, like what can I do in the moment, and I have been getting a lot better at that. But the thing less than my best, that's like I can't do that. I'm more like best that I can do right now, like what can I give right now, like that's the best.
Just taking that position, the motto.
And sometimes that's the best you can do is take a freaking nap. That's fine.
Emily, you look freaked out when she started saying the last term we did the course. You're like,
she probably didn't remember it.
I think I watched all the lectures. I think I actually finished watching the lectures 2 days before the final.
I didn't study. I watched the lectures as we were going through the lectures, and I read a little bit of the research papers and I wrote it. And
I don't remember stuff. I think in general I really enjoyed her talk. I enjoyed her talking about, guys, I love the psychology side of stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's so important. And And as I'm learning more about psychological stuff in the central nervous system, I'm learning how important the body is in all of it. You know, we can't think our way out of everything, because a lot of times that connection between thinking brain and emotional brain isn't there with trauma or central nervous dysregulation. And so I think, you know, this practice of pacing yourself is a way to kind of like process that in your body in like a healthy way versus putting more stress on your central nervous system. I just really liked her whole message of going, you know, going with the flow and letting it happen as it comes. You know, I've talked about acceptance on like every other episode, so I won't dive into it too much. Just refer to previous episodes.
Definitely will. I'll listen to old ones.
We've reached the point where we're quoting ourselves from previous episodes. Okay.
Love that. Love it. Something else so one of the questions that someone asked was just like, what were the top 3 like most influential things in her recovery to get to where she is today? And she like said like her mom, because like she always picked up the phone like every single night when she'd call her, like even when she had like 0 to say and was just upset. And then she said like her dog, not the dog that she has now, like her dog had passed away, but like she was living alone, and her dog Bob was just like that connection to like a pet, and having someone else to kind of like take care of who also kind of takes care of you is like really huge. And when she said that, I was like, oh my god, yeah, literally me with Bailey. Like having Bailey, yeah, it makes a huge difference. And then like her third thing,
the dog, and spoke her head out. She spoke her head on screen, and as soon as you mentioned, you said the dog, her head came on screen in the background. Your cat was like looking at you like, what are you talking about?
You can't see Bailey. She's over here.
She moved. She can move. She is what?
She's just whatever.
Nick with the sass coming.
Yeah, I wish that everyone listening to the podcast could see. Yeah, Bailey's also just been really like sassy today herself. So, but same. But she like her third thing was like psychology. Like, she was talking about she said like when thinking of like psychological therapy and like having like mental health issues that were like long like a long time like undiagnosed, she like dealing with those things was really, really helpful for her. And in mindfulness, she also did like yoga, and that helped with psychological stuff for her as well. And she said like her friends that stuck around, like they were also a really big part of like the like psychology, like mental health aspect of it all. But yeah, it was cool.
I think pets cure you so much.
They truly do. Like if I didn't have Bailey, I don't think I would have survived like I've had her for a little over 2 years now. I don't think I would have survived the last 2 years if I didn't have her. Like, but yeah, no, pets definitely make a big difference. But yeah, I really liked Krystal. Just all in all, I just really liked her. And I was checking out her website, and I think it's really cool that everything on her website, like she also has it as like audio too, so like people don't have to read it and stuff, which is really nice.
Very accessible.
Yeah. It was, I really liked it. Anyone else have anything to add?
She just inspired a lot of good thoughts.
Yeah, definitely. Alrighty. Well, thanks again to Krystal for coming and talking to the support group on Thursday. And thanks to Nick for helping us do the podcast, and Emily for joining. We'll have a new podcast posted Monday morning. Our upcoming podcasts can be found on concussiontalk.com, Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. You can find more information about our group on concussionmtl.com. Our peer-to-peer support group is free and open to everyone. We hold 4 weekly meetings on Zoom. We're always looking for Thursday morning speakers. And also, we have officially started our book club. And even if you guys missed the first meeting, you guys can still join the group. There will be notes from the first meeting and everything. Thanks for listening. Bye. HeadCheck Health bridges gaps in concussion care through simple, powerful technology. Join organizations like the Canadian Football League, Trek Factory Racing, the Canadian Junior Hockey League, Eastern Washington University, and Volleyball Canada, who rely on HeadCheck to improve communication and optimize care. Visit headcheckhealth.com for more. The music at the beginning of this podcast is by Ben Sound. www.bensound.com.